This is Middle-earth, a Minecraft mod that brings Middle-earth to life in a new, refreshing way. As someone who loves Minecraft and Middle-earth, this is the perfect mod for me, especially with it running in the more modern versions of Minecraft. With all the knowledge I have built up, and to help you out with your own experiences with this mod, I'm going to put together a beginner's guide to surviving Middle-earth. Welcome to Zman's Guide to Middle-earth. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is installing the mod itself. So I'm going to start with Modrinth, and then we'll move over to Curseforge when the time comes. So in Modrinth, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and click on the Mods tab, and then search up Middle-earth. And it's going to be this first one here that you see. So once you go ahead and you have this selected, you can either choose to download it if you're going to be downloading it for a server, or if you plan on installing it yourself, all you need to do is hit this install button. Then all you need to do is create a new instance for it. Obviously, I have my own instances of all the other stuff that I've been working on here, so you'll see that stuff. All you're going to want to do is name it whatever the heck you want. So we're just going to name it Middle-earth. And then once you do that, you hit create, and then in the background, it's going to create your new instance. And this is where you're going to have all of your mods and stuff like that. Now, in order for this to work, you will need to install Fabric API with it. So in order to do that, all you're going to do is click install content, and it's going to be the very first thing that pops up. Fabric API, you just simply hit install, and then from that point, you can go ahead and start up your game as you want, or you can choose to install some other mods that you find might work with the mod. But it's completely up to your choice at this point in time. Now making our way on over to Curseforge. So in order to install the mod on Curseforge, it's going to be very similar to how you would with Modrinth, but instead you're going to go into the Discover tab and then search for Minecraft projects. You'll look for Middle-earth, hit enter, and you may have to do a little bit of scrolling to find the mod itself, but once you scroll down just a little bit, it's going to be this very first one here by Jukos and Oblivious Crab. So once you find it, you can go ahead, hit install, and it's going to then create your instance. So you'll just go ahead, say create a new profile and name it whatever the heck you want. Once again, just naming it Middle-earth, and then we'll hit create. And then the good thing with Curseforge is that it installs Fabric API with it. But from this point forward, similar to Modrinth, you can choose to add in your own mods if you so choose to do so, but it's completely up to you at what you do at this point in time. Now, I do want to preface before we go ahead and move forward, this mod is a Fabric only mod. There are no ports for Forge or NeoForge or any other form of mod out there. So I would say be wary if you also plan to use like any combination or porting mods that allow you to use Fabric and Forge mods side by side with each other. I would say try not to do that, but it's your playthrough. You choose to do what you want to do with it, but I know it is not recommended that you try to use any porting mods that allow you to do Fabric and Forge together. I don't know. That's just some stuff that I've seen. Anyways, enough rambling. So once you get into the game, once it boots up, all you're going to do to create your world is hit single player. Now I am in the instance where I have my own worlds and stuff like that, just to make things a little bit more visually appealing when you first get in. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a new world. So once we get this going, we're going to go ahead and change the world to Middle-earth. Name it whatever the heck you want to. Now, for generation and stuff like that, all you're going to do is just keep it at default. Choose to spawn with a bonus chest, whatever the heck you want to do. You really don't need to change any of the world or more options. So once you do that, you're going to go ahead and create a new world. Now, when you first spawn into your world, it's going to look like a regular old Minecraft world. Do not panic. I promise you the mod is working, unless you somehow manage to screw something up, which if you only have the Fabric API mod and the Middle-earth mod, there should be no issues. So what you're going to want to do in order to get to Middle-earth is first create a file. Now, to create a file, all you're going to need is 1 iron nugget and 3 pieces of glass, and you end up with a file. Once you fill that up with water and you add in a glowing object such as glow berries, glowstone dust, or a glow ink sac, you put that into a crafting table, and then you get yourself a starlight file. this is how you're going to get into Middle Earth. All you got to do is simply right click, and then it's going to take you up to this screen here, which is kind of considered like an onboarding screen, if you so want to call it that. Now, there are a total of 9 different factions that you can choose from. There are 6 good factions and 3 evil factions. So we have the options to go with Gondor, Rohan, Dale, the Longbeards, which is in Erebor, Lothlorien, the Shire. Now, as you can also see, is that you also have different locations in which you can spawn in Middle Earth if you're taking a look at the map. So you have the option to spawn in Pelargir, Lasarnak, Lamadin, Lebanon. I may be pronouncing these names a little bit wrong, but you gotta get the point. You can choose where you want to spawn in depending on which race you're a part of. So for example, if we choose Dale, we have the option to spawn in Dale, Esgaroth, or the Dale capital. I guess those are the only 2 options, but you get what I mean. And then for evil, we have the Orcs of Mordor, we have the Misty Mountain Goblins, and Isengard as well. Now, obviously, you can also choose which you want to be. You can choose to be a human from Orthanc, or an Uruk, or an Orc. It's completely up to you. I would just say kind of play around with these factions. Now, I will say there are certain things that can attribute to what you may want to play as. So positive attributes, negative attributes, if you so want to call them that. But for a standard, like a normal player, you can see that the humans, they have basically a normal palette. There's no positive buffs, no negative debuffs, anything like that. But if we were to go on over to Longbeards, for example, with the dwarfs, you can see that there are a couple positives and negatives to being a dwarf, such as mining efficiency, max health are some of the positive ones, and then negatives would be like the interaction range, so how many blocks you're able to reach, and speed as well. And you may even see in there is the scale. You're actually a little bit shorter than a normal human, so kind of keep that in mind. Now, obviously, if you were to go with a hobbit, you would be scaled down quite a bit. You're pretty much just a little bit taller than a block, for example. But you can see we have a lot of speed, max health is a little bit lower, and fall damage is also only reduced slightly. Now, for the sake of the video, I'm just going to go with Gondor and just kind of show you guys where we would be able to spawn. So we're going to choose to spawn in Ithilien, which is actually really close to Mordor, but we're going to go ahead, hit that check mark, and then we're going to spawn into the world. And it will set your spawn to where your faction spawn is. So that's actually very not good. We were going to get into that a little bit later. So as you can see, this is what Gondor kind of looks like when you first spawn in. There's a whole bunch of custom blocks, textures, biomes. It is honestly amazing at how in depth the world really looks. So once you're in wherever you spawn, it's really do whatever you want to do. You can explore the entirety of Middle Earth, or you can settle down, make a base right away, and go and just kind of progress how you would want to progress. Now, one of the first things I would highly recommend that you do is make yourself a Middle Earth map. And it's pretty simple to do. So all you need to do is get 8 pieces of paper and a book and a crafting table, and then you will get yourself a Middle Earth map. And this will allow you to really see your location on the map and also see how massive this world is. Now, granted, it's not as big as some of the older mods where it could take players days to go from like Old Arthedain all the way down to Harad, for example, or even simpler travel distances. I don't know, but I feel like this mod in this world is I would say this mod condenses the world enough, but it's also, you're not going to be spending a whole lot of time doing a ton of traveling unless you absolutely have to. So as you can see on this map, we are spawned right near Ithilien and very close to Mordor. So we have the White Mountains here, the Misty Mountains up here, and then we also have Forodwaith at the very top. So you can see on this map that you can see all the biomes that there are out there. Now, there are dozens of unique biomes that you can go and explore for yourself. I'm not going to show all of them in here. I kind of want you guys to go out and explore Middle Earth and what it has to offer. But I do also want to point out really quick, because I am in creative mode, you're going to see that option to press N to teleport to wherever. That is only available in creative mode. You will not be able to do that in survival. I just want to put that out there just because I don't want this to seem any bit misleading or anything like that. Okay, so now we're going to be diving into some of the main features that the mod currently has. Now, I want to state this right off the bat. This mod is still in alpha. There are still a lot of features that are yet to come, but the current features that I'm going to be showing off, specifically the smithing that we're about to get into, is primarily the biggest one that we have currently. We'll get into some of the planned features and such like that in a little bit here, but probably consisting most of this video is going to be the smithing because it is so intricate and whatnot. So yeah, in order to get started with smithing, you're going to want to make yourself a forge. So with a forge, all you're going to need is 4 bricks, 3 cobblestone, and a furnace and a crafting table. You will get what is the forge. Now, I will say you can find clay in lush cave biomes. Those still spawn throughout the world, and you can find them in clay in riverbeds as well. So if you're having a bit of a hard time trying to find some clay, try looking in those locations. Right click, and this is what the interface of the forge looks like. So in here is where you'll be able to reheat some of your items. So whenever you're smithing something, it may get cold again. You will need to throw it into a forge to reheat it. Now, in order to make some of the alloys that you're going to need to make the armors, tools, weapons, and whatnot, especially the custom ones, you're going to want to make yourself an alloy furnace or an alloy forge. It's really simple to make. It's just a forge with 2 bellows attached to it. And now, in order to make bellows, all you need is 1 tin ingot, 3 planks, 2 leather, and 2 sticks in this formation, and then you'll get a bellow out of it. You'll need 2 of those in order to get this. Now, in the alloy forge, this is where you're going to be making your steels, your Khazad steel, your elven steels, everything that you will need to get the alloys. This is what you're going to put your resources into. Now, I'm going to quickly show off all of the available resources that are in this world, starting from tin. Now, tin can be found throughout any Y level throughout the world, in stone, gondolin, all these blocks here. Whatever you see here, tin can spawn in. And then we have iron, which I'm going to start from standard world height down into some of the new layers of the world as well, which we'll get into world generation here in just a little bit, starting from stone down to deep slate into Nurgon and then Medgon, the deepest parts of the world. Same for lead, which is an important component of making Khazad steel. So it starts spawning in the deep slate layers, Nurgon, Medgon. And then coal, it's very simple. You can find it pretty much anywhere in the world. Gold, you can only find in deep slate, Nurgon, and Medgon. And then we also have silver, which only spawns in Nurgon and Medgon. Now we do have one more material, and that is the elusive mithril. Now mithril, however you want to pronounce it. I got so much crap on it for a video, which I'm not going to get into a tangent about, but you can only find mithril in a mithril cave biome, and it can never be exposed to air. Now these biomes can be very limited, or they can be very expansive. It is a very hard material to find. I would say go watch this episode that is up in the top right of your screen right now, because it was a headache trying to find mithril. So yeah, it's very hard to find, but it is so worth it. It's basically the netherite of Middle Earth. Now you may notice that there is no redstone or diamonds. Now, I believe that was intended by the mod authors because they want to have a more customized experience with this mod. Now, the next thing we're going to be getting into is the alloying. I do want to preface that some of this stuff you may be able to find in structures throughout the world, but some of it, or a majority of it, you will need to go mining for it. So, the first thing I'm going to point you towards is bronze. This is the first tier after stone tools that you're going to want to go after. So in order to make bronze, it's simply 3 copper ingots, 1 tin ingot, and then you get a bronze ingot. In order to make steel, you're going to need 3 pieces of iron and 1 coal to make a steel ingot. For Kazad steel, you're going to need 2 iron ingots, 1 lead ingot, and 1 coal, and you get yourself a Kazad ingot. And then finally, the Edhel steel. You will need 3 pieces of iron and 1 silver nugget to make the Edhel steel. I'm probably pronouncing that very wrong, but roast me in the comments if you so choose to do so. Now, there are 2 evil variants of these things here too. We're going to start off with the crude ingot, which is made from 2 copper, 1 tin, and 1 piece of ash. And then finally, you're going to have your Burzum steel, which requires 2 iron, 1 lead, and 1 ash. Very similar to the Kazad steel right over here. Now, how this works is you go into your forge, you input your materials as such, following the crafting recipe, and I will say you will need a lot, and I mean a lot of coal. It requires a lot of coal for either reheating stuff or forging your alloys. Now, the bellows are actually very helpful because while you're smithing here, you can see it's going very slowly. You're not actually really getting too much out of your coal. We started at 32 and we're already down to 26. That's 6 coal that has been wasted. You can actually interact with your bellows to make this process go a bit faster by right-clicking on each of these, and you can even jump on them if you so choose to do so. But the more frequently that you interact with the bellows, the faster you're going to get your alloys. Now, as you can see here, after smelting down once, you get a total of 3 ingots worth. Now, for bronze, it's a total of 4, but for these other more advanced alloys, it's going to output a total of 3 ingots here. Now, as you can see, it just melted back down. Now, from the alloy forge, this is where you're going to get your different components for crafting your armors, weapons, and tools. So as you can see here, we have nuggets, we can make an ingot, and then we also have rods, which require 2 ingots, a large rod, which requires 3. Now, depending on what you're trying to make, it's going to depend on what resources you're going to need. So, for example, we're going to go with a pickaxe just to show you guys an example of how this whole process works. So for a pickaxe, you're actually going to need a large rod. Let's take a step back here really quick. So before you go ahead and before you can even smelt or craft whatever you need to craft, you will first need to make a treated anvil. Now, there are 4 different variants of anvils you can go with. You can go with the simple Manish treated anvil, or you can go with a specific anvil of your race. Now, personally, I would say try to go for this standard treated anvil first before trying to make anything else, since this is the easiest one that I've ever been able to make. So you have the Elvish one, the Edhel steel, the Kazad steel one, and then the Burzum steel treated anvils. So to kind of give you an idea of how the different tiers of armor work, I'm just going to go into creative here. I'm going to show you some of the dwarven armor here. So as you can see, this Erebor leather helmet, if you hold shift on it, it's just a light tier of armor. So it goes from light to medium armor to sturdy armor, and then the heavy armor tier, which is the best armor tier that you're able to get. So whatever armor piece that you are trying to make, requirements for making that armor may require multiple scale mail or multiple chain links like this. So you want to keep in mind that the whole smithing and crafting of armor specifically is a very resource heavy and grindy experience in this mod. And to kind of give you an example of that would be going into EMI here, which I'll get into this a little bit later. We take a look at this Erebor Gatewarden armor, which is considered a heavy tiered armor. So one of the best armors that dwarves are able to craft. So if we go ahead and right click on it and we go into the artisan table, you can see what is required for us to make this. Now at first it may seem, oh, we just need a plate, chest plate, a couple armor plates, ingots, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't seem too hard, but then you have to realize, then you have to craft this. It's like, oh, I need a lot of cosset steel in order to make the plates and the scale mill. And not even that, you also need to take into account for making this scale hauberk, which requires 7 scale mill. So you're going to need a lot of resources when you are making your armors. Another example of this would be the Gondorian Citadel Guard chest plate. Once again, it may seem, oh, we just need some fabric, Gondorian plate, chest plate, but you need all of these different resources first. So essentially you're taking the most basic parts of your armors and slowly but surely upgrading them. Now, before we move on, I just want to kind of show you guys really quick what other things you're able to make. We already went over what you were able to make tool-wise for a large rod. I want to show you what you're able to do with a regular rod and a regular ingot. So if we go ahead and throw our rod into the shaping anvil here, this is where you're able to make your armor plates, your regular blades, your hoe heads, and that's it for that. Now, if you wanted to go for a ingot, this is where you can make your short blades for daggers and spears, your shovel heads, your sword hilts, and shield borders. That's pretty much everything that I can think of for crafting. If there's anything that I might have missed, please let me know in the comments below. Now I'm going to show you guys what kind of some of the NPCs that spawn naturally in the world look like. Starting with the Shire here, we have 3 different kinds of NPCs. We have the Civilian, which is the most standard NPC you can come across. The Bounder, which is basically think of it as like a guard. And then the Sheriff is like the protector of that area. These both can attack hostile mobs as well. So if we were to spawn like an orc here or something like that, these two would start fighting that orc. I think the Civilian would too, but I can't remember for 100% certainty that they will. But I'm just going to kind of flash through these NPCs really quick to show you guys what they look like. Next up, we have Gondor. So the lowest tier troop is a militia, then it goes to soldier, knight, veteran, and leader. Now, each of these will have different types of armor that they spawn in with. Unfortunately, I can't seem to get these guys to spawn in with armor. So you kind of have to mess around or even explore the world to see, oh, which kind of unit is which. Usually the militia have like the leather armor, kind of the most basic stuff, while the leaders will have the more intricate armors like the Citadel Guard armor and such like that. And same is true for Rohan and Dale. So it seems I can't really get any of these guys to spawn in, so I can't seem to get these guys to spawn in with armor, but each faction has a total of up to 5 different ranks between them, being militia all the way up to leaders. Now when it comes to the goblins and such, the highest tier are the war chiefs, and then the lowest are the militias. So now moving on, I wanted to kind of go over some of these structures that you'll be able to find throughout Middle Earth. For example, you'll be able to come across some of these ruins specifically in the realms of men currently. Hopefully in the future we'll be getting more, but you'll be able to find stuff such as chests, other artifacts potentially in the future. So you can find these in limestone, dolomite. You can find ruins that are basically within the same block types of the region here. So you may be able to find some barrels as such, or even chests, depending on which POI that you find. You can find different various things. They're not the greatest things in the world, like this ash if you're trying to make some crude ingots or burzum steel. There you go, you have some ash. Now, when it comes to other structures that spawn throughout the world, you can find complete houses such as this dwarven home located right here. These are scattered about throughout each region. They'll all have different block palettes and different items that you're able to find with them. For example, these barrels, you can find some food in them, and here you can find some coal, you can even find bronze nuggets as well. And sometimes you can even find some special banner pattern. I will say a lot of these banner patterns do look really nice, so I highly suggest collecting them if you're able to. Now, the big elephant in the room that I do want to address is that there are no lore structures. The devs have made it very clear that they will not be adding in major lore structures because they want the players to be able to build them themselves. So when you spawn in, say for Erebor example, for the Longbeards, when you spawn in, you're not going to see the actual kingdom of Erebor. It's just going to be the Lonely Mountain. And then it's up to you, the player, to be able to build that structure yourself. One last thing with world generation is how deep does the world actually go? So I went into spectator mode just now, and I want to show you guys the different layers that you're going to come across and how the cave systems kind of look here. So if we dive down below, we're going to see that we have different stone layers, and we're going to be able to find an abundance of white stones such as diorite, calcite, all that good stuff around in Gondor, because, you know, Gondor is known for having their white brick palettes, you know. So the further down you go, obviously you will still encounter the deep slate layer, and you'll be able to find new cave biomes aside from just seeing the lush and caves. I don't know what the ones with the dripstone are called, but we do have new cave biomes such as this. So we have the fungus caves here, which spawn, I believe, in the deep slate layer and below, but you will not find them within the stone layer, or it's going to be like at the very bottom layer of where you'll be able to find stone. And you obviously get some new fungi stuff. We got some glowworms hanging from the ceilings. These all look very nice. Then after deep slate, you're going to come across Nurgon. Now Nurgon is this darker block here that comes after deep slate, obviously. And then the further down you go, you'll eventually reach Medgon, which is where you're going to find the rarest materials and resources throughout the world. There's going to be a higher abundance of iron found in this layer. This is where you can find silver, gold, and if you're in the Misty Mountains, from this layer down within a mithril cave is where you'll be able to find mithril. I know I keep switching up my pronunciations. Don't judge me for it. So now I want to go over some of the custom mobs that are... Shut up! I'm trying to do an introduction to this bit. Thank you. God, I can't get anything done around here. Anyways, these are some of the custom creatures that you'll be able to find throughout Middle Earth here. Now, we have the guy that keeps throwing rocks at the goats, I'm assuming, is the Frost Troll, which you can find these spawning throughout Forwardwaith or any of the colder biomes up north. Now over here we have the Stone Trolls, which obviously at night they are perfectly fine, and you can find these throughout the Vales of Middle. So if we take a look at the map, I know that I have found them around the Anduin Vales, and I'm sure they spawn in other places too, like Mordor. Anywhere in Mordor they do spawn as well. But once you go to daytime, once you set it to daytime, they will start to kind of seize up, and eventually they will be turned into a stone troll. And there we go. He's now a stone troll. He's basically a statue. And you can't actually break them with a pickaxe to get a stone troll statue that you can actually place throughout your world as a decoration. Now over here we have wargs, which are a unique mount, obviously, to Mordor, and there was a baby in here at one point. I don't really know what happened to it. Let's grab an egg really quick, spawn it in, and I will say it is very cute, but if you're wandering throughout the world and you see one of these things charging at you out of nowhere, it is not fun. I'll tell you that right now. From first-hand experience, these things are super fast and super dangerous if you're unprepared. Over here, we have the Broadhoof Goats, which are the unique mount for the dwarves. Now, to tame them, all you need is some wheat as a dwarf. Now, as an orc, you need to be part of these specific races, whether you're an orc for wargs or a dwarf for the goats. Those are the only races that are able to tame these mounts. Now, once you tame them, there are armors and such that you can put on the goats, and same for the wargs as well. Unfortunately, the wargs have been dispatched, unfortunately, but there are some drops that you can get from them for making armor or weapons as well. Just want to put that out there. And the baby broadhood ghosts are so stinking cute. I love these guys so much. But yeah, once you tame them, you can put armor on these guys and take them for a ride. But I'm not part of Arable right now, so I cannot show that off. So we're now at that part of the video where there really isn't too much more to talk about in regards to features and other things that are currently in this mod, but now I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the planned features that are hopefully coming within the next couple months, because it has currently been 8 months since the last update has come out. So we're going to go over some of the planned features that have been released to the public, which you can find all this information in their Discord, which I will have linked below in their sneak peek channel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm going to be throwing up images and videos from this Discord and what's been available to us ever since the most recent update. So first and foremost is this new enchanting system that they're going to be putting in place that will allow players to, for example, with this specific enchantment, mining out larger areas with a pickaxe or something like that. Now, normally this is something that you could probably find from like a certain mod or whatever, but having this as an base enchantment in this mod is going to be super helpful, especially for people that are going to be doing a lot of digging out for lore structures and all that kind of stuff. Next up, we have this image of, it looks like a blue wizard, if I'm being 100% honest, and some of these other newer blocks that haven't been released to us just yet by the looks of it. It may be something tied to with the blue wizards or something else. I'm not entirely sure, but looking at this photo here and some of the interesting textures that we're getting from this, I'm excited to kind of build with this because I think this would fit perfectly with a lot of dwarven builds specifically. And next up, we have a GIF of a sleeping troll. Now, this is interesting because this is a troll that I have not seen spawn in the wild just yet. So we are getting a new aggro mob, and this looks more of like the troll that you see in the Fellowship when they're in Balin's tomb. So it'll be interesting to see where we'll be able to find this specific troll spawning. I think this is a cave troll. That's the proper name that I was trying to think of. And then we have this photo of, it looks like a dwarven encampment of some sorts. Nothing too fancy. We already saw this structure before, but it looks rather nice. I feel like they're definitely trying to play into some sort of dwarven themed update, or I don't really know. I don't want to speculate too much, but I as a dwarf myself, this looks very nice, and I'm very excited to see what they plan on doing with the dwarves here. And then next up we have, oh god, what are these? We have spiders. What are these supposed? They look like they're supposed to be spiders, and I don't like that because I already dislike the spiders that spawn in Mirkwood. So whatever these are, I'm gonna stay very, very far away. Next up, we are heading down underground to Goblin Town. Wow, this is looking really freaking cool. It looks like we have some familiar blocks, some newer blocks, and Zoidberg in a cage? I don't really know. I truly do not know. If we're getting a goblin faction, that aside from just the Misty Mountains, for example, then I think this will be a very interesting faction, especially for servers that want to use this mod for role-playing purposes. And then we have a photo of what it looks to be some more goblin themed armors, which it looks like that is the Goblin King crown right there. So once again, role-playing purposes, that's looking really neat. And then the most recent update that has been provided to us just couple weeks ago now, we're getting some new blocks and new visuals. And if we take a look at that very first photo, it looks like there is that newer cow variant that spawns in the colder biomes, I want to say it is, in regular Minecraft. And it looks like we're just getting more mob variants in general as well, which I think is really nice. And this swamp picture here looks very, very appealing to me. And then it looks like it's some mountains, but overall, these visuals, I am very much liking the direction that they are going with this update. Hopefully it comes to us in the near future, because like I said, it's been 8 months since we got in our hands on an update, but one can only hope for what's to come next. And I am honestly super excited for when it does eventually come to us. Now, to wind things down for this video here, I'm just going to throw in a couple small tidbits for you guys. Some suggested mods, for example. I highly suggest you install EMI so you can get all the crafting recipes that you can get for making your tools, weapons, armors, all that kind of stuff. And then I would also suggest maybe getting like some sort of world map or mini map just to help kind of with navigation and that kind of thing. I personally use Zeros in my playthrough, which, by the way, link in the top right if you perhaps want to see how I've been doing in my playthrough. A quick little plug. And then any fantasy themed RPG mods that you feel like would fit in with this, I feel like you can definitely kind of incorporate them. The only thing I would say is structure mods are kind of a hard one to incorporate with this mod, just because this is a whole new dimension. So if you're good with data packs in importing structures from overworld to have them spawn in this dimension, then sure, go for it. But yeah, that's kind of my little suggestion when it comes to any suggested mods. A couple more I will suggest as well are the Middle Earth factions and Middle Earth War and Middle Earth NPCs. These are all made by the same mod developer known as Trep. These are not part of the current mod, but they do bring planned features into this mod itself, such as hireable troops, a faction system in which you can rank up to get certain buffs, and trading with the NPCs, which is very configurable through the JSON file in the Middle Earth NPCs add-on or mod. I will make sure to include all of these suggested mods in the description below as well, just so you guys can get a little bit easier access to them. And another question that I see a lot in the Discord as well is, are there official servers or anything like that? There is no official server, but there are a lot of fan-made servers out there which are promoted in their server promotions channel in the Discord. So if you're looking for a server that utilizes this mod, join the Discord and check out that specific channel. And that is it for today's video, guys. I know it's a lot of information being thrown at you, but I hope this video was helpful for you guys in starting your experience here in Middle Earth. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Check out the links below for all my social medias. Consider joining my community Discord and the Middle Earth Discord as well. And I want to say a huge thank you for watching this video throughout the whole way. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more Middle Earth content just like this, consider subscribing as well. And I also want to say a huge shout out and thank you to all my channel members. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.